Hello everyone, this is HammerTron here, and this is not an action figure review. It's not even a review of the DVDs of the movies and cartoons that the action figures are based on. This video is going up on December 30th, 2022, which is Friday, so today is going to be Friday Free Talk. And I hope everyone has had a Merry Christmas, and I hope they will have a Happy New Year. But anyway, today's Friday. This is a free talk. I'm showing covers of DVDs for movies and cartoons of some of the action figures that I collect. Now, these are all the action figures that Hasbro produces. So down here we have the Transformers the movie, the 1986 movie, the cartoon movie. Here's an Indiana Jones movie collection, the first 4 movies. I didn't really like the 4th one, but the first 3 were great. Here's a Power Rangers movie, the most recent movie, which was okay, but the other seasons of Power Rangers I think are okay, but maybe a little more too kiddie for me. Here's an Iron Man cartoon. This is just representing the Marvel Comics characters and action figures. Here's G.I. Joe. Here's the Star Wars trilogy, and I have the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon and also the Dragonlance movie, cartoon movie based on the novel. I didn't really like this movie very much because the novel was way better. But these are some of the action figure lines that Hasbro is producing now or will be producing. Some Indiana Jones action figures are coming up soon. I do have a lot of the Marvel Legends action figures based on Marvel Comics. And I do have some the Power Rangers Lightning Collection. I have some Star Wars action figures. That was probably my first toy line made by Kenner way back in the late 70s and throughout the 80s. So that's probably my favorite action figure line. My favorite movie. Then there's G.I. Joe. After Star Wars, I really liked G.I. Joe a lot. So I enjoyed the cartoons and the comic books. And then, I don't play the Dungeons and Dragons role-playing games, but I really liked the novels, especially the Dragonlance novels that came out in the early to mid-80s. And I just really enjoy those. I did not get the original toy line, but I am looking forward to some of the new ones. However, Hasbro's new 6-inch Dungeons and Dragons action figures based on a cartoon, those action figures look a little too cartoony, and the articulation might be too limited compared with the articulation of some of the other action figures. So, obviously I'm a fan of the stories and the material that the action figures are based on, so when I get the action figures I enjoy. I enjoy the action figures, having them on display, putting them in poses, because I just like the stories that they're based on. Now, most of the stories I like are the old original stories. I don't know what's going on with the Marvel Comics nowadays, but I haven't read any in over 10 years. And based on what I'm hearing about Marvel Comics being published nowadays, I'm very happy I'm not reading them, because egads. I'm hearing bad things about the 5th Indiana Jones movie, so that's too bad. At least the first 3 are great. And the original Star Wars trilogy, that's what got me interested in the science fiction and fantasy and the action figures that they had in the late 70s and 80s. Just really got me interested in action figures in general. And the G.I. Joe action figures in the 80s. That continued my enjoyment of the action figures. So it's because of these two, Star Wars and G.I. Joe, that I really enjoy action figures a lot. And then of course I always enjoyed Transformers. I don't have very many of those, but the biggest problem I had with the Transformers is that they did not scale very well with the action figures from the other lines. At least G.I. Joe and Transformers were about the same size. And maybe the original Dungeons and Dragons action figures were about the same size too. So I'm pretty happy with the 6-inch scale action figures nowadays. Yeah, I'm happy that they all seem to scale together pretty nicely. They're all about the same size, although I think the 6-inch Star Wars action figures are a bit smaller than the other 6-inch action figures. So, what's disappointing is that the prices keep going up, although I can't blame them too much. Prices for everything is going up, so I'm not too surprised. I'm just disappointed about how Hasbro's prices are going up really high. And what's also very disappointing is that the Hasbro seems to want to go to windowless boxes for their action figures. I'm just not happy about that. I want to be able to walk into the store, go down the toy aisle, look at the action figures, and see the actual action figure in the window boxes. You know, that way I can inspect it and make sure that that action figure is in good shape and it has all the accessories. So I'm very, very disappointed about the windowless boxes, and so far I have not gotten one in a windowless box, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to, which is too bad. I was looking forward to some 6-inch Indiana Jones action figures that would go along with all the others, but if they're in windowless boxes, I guess I won't bother. And I have been collecting the Power Rangers Lightning Collection, but if they change to windowless boxes, I guess I can't get those. Same thing with Marvel Legends. I really enjoyed the Marvel comics from the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s. And then the Star Wars action figures. I don't care for the new Star Wars movies, but I do like the original trilogy, and maybe the prequel trilogy was okay. Not the greatest, but I still like the stormtroopers and the droids and some of the aliens. And I was really looking forward to some Dungeons and Dragons action figures, especially based on the novels. I really enjoyed the novels. I've read hundreds of the novels, not just Dragonlance, but Forgotten Realms and Dark Sun and Spelljammer and some of the others. So I was really looking forward to that. However, the windowless boxes have me reconsidering whether I want to get the action figures or not. Furthermore, whoever that brand manager is for G.I. Joe and Dungeons and Dragons, that brand manager has got to go. I'm simply not interested in that pronoun nonsense. The first time I heard about that pronoun nonsense was during the Hasbro Pulse in late September. And then it turns out that that brand manager had been doing this pronoun nonsense at maybe the San Diego Comic-Con, which might have been in early August or maybe in July of 2022. So those people at the San Diego Comic-Con, if that's where it was, I bet they were really surprised, and being peaceful, middle-aged gentlemen, they probably weren't going to make a big issue of it then, but yeah, they should have just walked out. And if I were there, fortunately I don't go to these conventions, but if I had been there, I might not have just stormed out, but I don't know if I would have bothered with the pronouns or not. So that's just really disappointing. So lots of issues with Hasbro and the decisions that they're making. Also, they're really high prices, and how ridiculously difficult it is to find G.I. Joe action figures, the G.I. Joe classified lines. They look nice. I would like to be able to get them, but I just can't even find them in the store most of the time. I only find a handful here and there, and I'm just not very satisfied with not being able to get the whole collection. So that's too bad. This video is turning out to be kind of a complaint about Hasbro. And I'm sure somebody at Hasbro is subscribed to my channel, so I'm sure they're going to hear about this. I hope so. Anyway, anyways, that's too bad about Hasbro. So I'm going to put these down, and I need to point out to Hasbro needs to reconsider their decisions and their actions, because what does Hasbro have? They have competitors. Let's find the competitors. Here, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. That's by Mattel. I do kind of like the Masterverse series, so that's pretty nice, although some of the proportions are a bit odd on those. But there's not only Masters of the Universe, there's also Star Trek. I think there are going to be some Star Trek action figures. I hope it's based on the original series or the Next Generation. We will see. And there's also Silverhawks, although that seems to be made by Super 7, and those are pretty expensive. Same thing with Thundercats, made by Super 7 and pretty expensive, but it still is competition for Hasbro. And then here is a DVD set for Challenge of the Super Friends. Now, I had watched these Super Friends cartoons before I even read the comic books, before I read any Marvel comics or DC comics. So what I know about the superheroes started out with these cartoons. And right now, DC comic book characters are being made into action figures by McFarlane Toys. And they have a lower price point. They're coming in window boxes. They're a little bit bigger, so the articulation is different. But still, this is competition for Hasbro. I think Hasbro really needs to reconsider having windowless boxes. That's just not going to work. Hasbro needs to reconsider how quickly they want to increase their prices, because their competitors have lower prices. McFarlane Toys is not increasing the prices on their DC characters. So they're bigger, they have window boxes, and they're cheaper. So also the characters are just as entertaining as the Marvel Comics characters. And also the other action figure lines like Thundercats and Silverhawks, now maybe those are more expensive, but now they are not so much more expensive that the decision is easy to choose the cheaper one. So if Hasbro's going to have prices about the same as their competitors, well, I'll just go with the competitors. So hopefully Hasbro will reconsider their behavior and their actions. Also, I'm just not interested in pronoun nonsense. It's just not acceptable. There's no reason for something like that. I just want to enjoy my action figures based on the comic books and cartoons and movies that I enjoy. Of course, I don't really enjoy any of the new stuff that's being made nowadays, because it's just doesn't make any sense. Whatever it is, whatever message they're trying to send to people, it just doesn't make sense. So anyway, this is the Friday Free Talk. And you know what? As of filming this video, it looks like I have more than 300 subscribers. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate you subscribing, and I hope you're enjoying the content that I make. So please like my videos. Also, please leave comments on my videos. Let me know what you're thinking about the action figure. Let me know what you think about my comments about the toy industry. And if you're new here, please subscribe to keep up to date with my future reviews, where I review mostly action figures, but I also do have some comments about action figures. So thank you for watching. And once again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I'll see you next year. Goodbye, everyone.